from Unify. I'm happy to be introducing a new friend of mine named Robin Lynn. Robin is a Renaissance woman, I would say, but really works with entrepreneurs to help bring out not only their genius and their abilities, but to really help balance the ability to make a positive social impact, positive transformational impact, while also taking care of themselves. And I think this is a crucial piece, especially for entrepreneurs who are not willing to just plug into, not just willing to plug into the purely 9-to-5 lifestyle, pure 9-to-5 lifestyle of just focusing on money, but need to put their personal purpose and mission first in everything that they do. Sometimes we can sacrifice, our own well-being and our own even financial well-being, as a result of being so dedicated to purpose and value. And so Robin's awesome, super excited to have you here. And I'm going to kick it over to you, Robin.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Unify. Great to be here, guys. So I have a lot to cover in a short time, and I'm going to be as succinct as I possibly can. And as Seth mentioned, absolutely sustainability and being at peace within ourselves is something that, as many of you know, being the change we wish to see creates the change in the world, as Gandhi mentioned many years ago. And the reason why we still honor professionals, gurus, and spiritual advocates and activists like Gandhi, like MLK, like Confucius, like the many leaders before us is because they've done the work and they've done the internal processing that many of us are so attracted to, and yet sometimes fall out of because of the way the world has been slapping us with the hierarchy of needs. And as many of us know, it's not something that we're averse to. We all fear pretty much the same things. We all pretty much have the same types of insecurities or doubts or misbeliefs. We often, regardless of the evolution or the processes that we're going through, we may be at different levels of our practice along the way, but there are many similarities in how we can look to the leaders before us who've carried the torch and start to see ways of how we can improve not just the world around us, but ultimately ourselves. Because if we are capable of being, as the Buddha said, self-sustained, if we are able to utilize our own potency, as Jesus spoke to use our own self and source as the power that exists within us to then share the light, to share the love outside of us, that's how the world changes. And so I've been studying for about a year now. Every month I go and visit my monk friends over at Metaforest Monastery in Valley Center, California. And I'm honored to call my teacher one of the most astounding leaders of our time, Thanissaro Bhikkhu, also known as Ajahn Jeff. I call him Ajahn. And so Ajahn, who is a traditional Theravada Buddhist monk, which means he has practiced and been teaching direct from the Buddha lineage, very straightforward. It's a very intense practice. It goes beyond the idiosyncrasies that most of us practice early on in our spiritual development, and it cuts through the layers, as I would say, being a meditative practitioner and teacher for 16 years now. I've been teaching drug and alcohol addicts and billionaire CEOs alike, and what I've noticed and recognized over the years, no matter who is coming to me for support, mentoring, coaching, or consulting, whether it was a billionaire client or someone overcoming heroin addiction, trying to find his way back to life and sustainable well-being, everyone, no matter what they had been going through, they were all having an internal experience of some kind of suffering. And regardless of the level of suffering, it was always an intense level, and it was always at the peak, which is why they came to me, to try to find a way out. And one of the things that I want to share with you is something that I will ask you to take away. And I'm going to ask you to take away something that involves you doing a little bit of work. And the work that I'm going to ask you to do is to figure out, and by the end of this discussion, hopefully you have figured out something closer into what allows you to integrate the equilibrium within yourself of sustainable well-being, in the sense of how you're making your money and how you're making your impact and how you're living life in a way that's sustainable, where you're able to take care of yourself. Now, some of you listening may not be capable of that. Maybe you have a physical limitation. Maybe you have a mental limitation. Maybe you've gone through a lot of trial and error in business or in life, and there's certain life circumstances that are preventing you from doing the things that I'm asking you to do. So for those of you who may not be as capable as you'd like to be in this moment, just put a pin in it and maybe savor it and work on it, because over time, if you practice it and if you keep bringing it to the forefront of your life, it's something that you'll be able to work through. I promise you that if you keep it in the present moment and you keep acting on it and you bring persistence and action to it. For others of you who feel ready to take on the role of what I'm asking you to do, I'm going to ask you to get out a piece of paper and a pen and to write down your definition of success. And when I ask billionaire clients, or I ask the people who are going through drug and alcohol addiction, or I ask single moms working in corporate jobs in Silicon Valley, raising twin boys whose husbands left them for another woman, who were left with the 6-figure, 7-figure a year income, raising twin boys on her own. A lot of people have come to me with not a lot of energy and not a lot of time to do the work that it takes to create peace within, and let alone making an impact and having peace outside in the world. So a lot of you I know have dreams and visions of wanting to create maybe eco retreats and lifestyles, maybe businesses generating 6 and 7, maybe 8 figures a year. Maybe some of you want to transition out of a career or job that isn't serving you. Maybe some of you have lost a parent recently, or even a child, and you're suffering and struggling, and you're looking to bring forward some more meaning, to give impact, to bring some level of service with your energy and the time and the life that you have remaining on this planet. And so what I'd like you to do is to write down on a piece of paper what success means to you. And I've got some visuals here to help us. So success is something that many different people have shared with me what success means. And ultimately, it comes down to a couple things. One of them is having enough money to take care of yourself. And as my teacher, Ajahn Jeff, says, if we are able to have just enough money to take care of ourselves, when we're not struggling and relying on other people, which creates codependency in relationships. And if you're in a codependent relationship, or if you're in a business partnership that's dealing in codependency, where there's an inferior superior complex going on, or even in a career or job, or whatever kind of role you're playing, if you're looking to generate income, or you're generating some kind of income, but right now there's some codependency playing out, and you can't leave that position or that relationship or that endeavor because you're relying on that financially, then you know what I'm talking about. And if you have a child, you know what I'm talking about too, because they're dealing with that as well, generating financial sustainability. If we're capable of doing that, having enough money to feed ourselves, to clothe ourselves, and to house ourselves, and to do a little bit of travel here and there, and hopefully to take care of other people as well along the way. If we have enough money financially to do that, we're not going to be relying on anyone else. And that creates world peace, because we're not taking resources from other people. We're not draining other people. We're not draining anywhere else in the world. And we're not looking for a handout. we're able to sustain ourselves, and financial well-being is part of the equation for what creates success and what creates peace. Again, it's not just about your own life. If you have enough money to take care of yourself, that's amazing for you, but you have to understand that that's very powerful and beneficial for creating world peace, because you're not relying on other people to take from them. You're nourishing yourself, you're feeding yourself, you're capable of tending to your own needs, and financially creating wealth generation, enough money, not talking about oodles and oodles of money like Scrooge McDuck jumping into his cave of money, into a money pit. I'm talking about enough money to be able to take care of yourself with ease, which is what the Buddha taught. The Buddha wasn't about having no money. He was about having enough money to live off of comfortably, and for each individual person to do that. And so that is one of the ways that we can create world peace. And if you can do that, if you can work on that, that is one of the main aspects of success. Not just in my opinion, but from the whole lineage of Buddha and what the gurus are really trying to teach you. So get that in your head and meditate on that. What can you do to generate enough money to sustain yourself and not feed off of or take from others in order to do that, to live comfortably? The next thing is time freedom. So a lot of you may have time, but not the other piece, right? So having the money, maybe you have the money, but you don't have the time, or maybe you have the time, but you don't have the money. We want to be able to have all of this. We want to be able to have enough money to have freedom, and enough time to have space to do what we're called to do, which means we can serve and we can help more people. So whatever it is that you're choosing to do, be sure you have time for yourself and time for people that are important to you, where you're able to give back, you're able to be generous, you're able to give of yourself in some way, even if it's to your own family or your parents or your children. But hopefully when you walk out the door, you're able to do that for everyone around you, and you have the time to do that and to take care of yourself. Self-care is also included in this time aspect of success, what creates success. The other aspect is home, as I mentioned, having a safe, clean place to call home. Now, many spiritual practitioners would say, well, wherever I go, I'm home, which is true. I speak to meditation as an action, where when we're in our meditative practices, the whole point of meditation is to come into the body, to come into the breath, and bring the mind home, to have a safe place for the mind to come home to. So one of the reasons why we should be meditating is to be able to do that, to be able to bring the mind home in the body using the breath, being present with that. That is one of the reasons why we should be meditating. That's an active way of meditation. It's what the Buddha taught. It's what I practice. But home is also about creating a place for you to come to where you're grounded. Grounding is one of the most essential parts of creating peace within yourself, and also so that you have what it takes energetically, mentally, and emotionally to be able to create peace out in the world, to do something that you're inspired to do, to be able to express your creative abilities, to be able to utilize your strengths, and hopefully master skills that allow you to do that, to be able to hone in on the power that is within you, that you've been just called to do, or maybe that you're starting to really consider because your meditation practice, and hopefully you'll be meditating with Unify tomorrow at noon in the global meditation practices. You'll be able to call on that in your meditation practice. You'll be able to take action on that. So we're bringing the mind home. We're anchoring the body with the breath, becoming present in our meditation practice, which creates a home wherever we go. But as we create a home with the external world, we also want to be mindful of creating a place to call home. And for many of us, success is having that place, having a place where we can ground into. And hopefully, wherever you go, you're able to bring that place of home with you, even if you're not in your own home. The other thing I wanted to share is about family and partnerships, which is relationships. This can also be professional partnerships as well as personal ones and intimate ones. So when we're looking at family partnerships or professional partnerships, usually success means having a balance, having a way to be at peace, to be in harmony. So when we look at creating peace out in the world, we actually first need to look at what's going on in our own home. And how do we do that without judging others or without reacting to the fears and the insecurities of the people around us in our family or in our close relationships? How do we not pull from that? How do we not engage with fear, but how do we engage with a part of ourselves that will create success in the world and peace in the world, which is creating harmony in our partnerships and within our family? And that's one of the reasons why this is top on the list, which is something you should be meditating on. How do you create harmony in your partnerships intimately and in business? Health and well-being is obviously a given. One of the reasons why I am able to work with people around the world and travel, living off Bitcoin, being able to express my creative abilities, be able to practice skills and meet professionals all over the world, and to be able to do what I'm called to do without needing to attend to a job or a traditional 9-to-5 career like the rest of the world, is because I've been able to maintain a healthy mind and a state of well-being within myself that allows me to create success in where I choose to, which allows me personally to be at peace within myself, which allows me to have more of that energy to be able to give peace out in the world. So I believe that if you can create a healthy mind and a healthy well-being within yourself, you're capable of having that energetic expression out in the world. And to me, that's a huge aspect of what we can do to create world peace, is to bring a healthy way of not only eating, but a healthy way of thinking. And meditation for me is that reason why I meditate, is to clear my mind, to anchor my mind into present, to be able to access what is going on right now, not acting from the past or clinging to things that once were, but being here, being able to act from right here, which allows us to remove karmic baggage, remove things that we were associated with before, which prevents us from reliving and repeating old patterns that keep us stuck and in inertia, which many of us have experienced, which is why we're meditators and peacemakers, right? Also, not living in fear of what the unknown of tomorrow or next year will bring. Many of us are afraid to focus on our health and well-being because we're trying to just make the money or pay the mortgage or take care of our families. We're so stuck in the stress of that cycle that we're not able to be in the present and act in present because we're so afraid of what could happen, even though that's not yet a possibility. It hasn't yet happened. Usually it's a paradox because we never will know. We never can know. But what we can do is meditate in the moment, become present within our breath, anchoring the mind and the body in the moment to take action in the right here and now, so that we can create a healthy mind and a well-being that allows us to internally have this state of peace within us and happiness and joy within ourselves, which will allow us to be peace and change makers out in the world, to be able to create world peace. So energy is the other thing I mentioned briefly, having the energy to be able to do what we want to do. So the Buddha taught to give where you're inspired to give. Not only the duty we have to our children or our parents or our families or our careers or businesses, but to be able to give energetically with where we're inspired to. So you've got to create space in your life in order to have the energy. We mentioned time too, right? But the energy to be able to do the things that inspire you. And if you are somebody who's out in the world able to do the things that inspire you, isn't that something that's going to create more peace out in the world? So that's one of the reasons why we meditate, right? To have more energy, more creative expression, because we don't want to be stuck in a career or job or business that's unfulfilling or stressful, or working with clients that are draining us, or in codependency and relationships or careers that are just drowning out our energetic well-being. We've got to have the energy in order to have a possibility for peace out into the world. You've got to focus in personally. So the goal here is not to focus in on what the world needs, and not to point your finger out and look at all of the countries and say, oh my goodness, look at Syria, and look at Africa, and look at Venezuela, and oh man, look at their economies, and get caught up in that cycle. That's not going to help anyone. We can be aware of what's going on out in the world and understand the differences of what we have access to regardless of where you live. But we've got to have the energy to be able to have that stamina. We can't be stuck as empathetic beings, right? As creatures of empathy and compassion. We can't drown our empathy in the problems out in the world, because that's not going to help world peace. We've got to have the energy from an uplifting perspective to be able to have the time and energy to be able to go out and hopefully work with organizations like the UN and the Global Peace Initiatives, or like organizations with Unify, to have an opportunity to work with people regardless of where you decide to go, regardless of who you decide to work with, or the ages, or the types of problems or issues that they're facing, whether it's economic, income disparity, or the lack of water or resources and food, or the government. Regardless of what the issues are out in the world, it's not going to help us by fixating and focusing on the problem, but by tuning in within our meditative practices to having more energy. Because once we do, you'll be able to direct that appropriately out in the world. And I've just got to tell you that spending so many hours with monks at a high level, these individuals who have cleared their minds so greatly, where they have the energy to be at peace within themselves, to not cling to things outside in the world, but to have the energy within themselves because of the meditative practices and action that they're capable of doing, that they've been doing. They have that energy to be able to create peace within themselves and to share that with the world, which ultimately has that ripple effect. And that's what we need more of. So this happens within you. This happens within you. And the last thing here is nature. You've got to go out in nature. I go out in the forest and do my hikes. Hopefully wherever you live, you're able to go outside and take some deep breaths out in nature, get your oxygen high on, and be able to really look. Because when we look out at nature, today was the fall equinox, when we look out at nature, things are changing constantly. The constant is change, and the change is chaos. And rather than getting caught up in chaos, and rather than getting fixated on what is changing, we can look at nature, we can see the beauty of change, and we can acknowledge that we are going to die, everything is going to die, everything that we love is going to die. And rather than clinging to it and suffering from it and feeling at loss because of it, whether it hasn't happened yet, or it's happened a while ago, or it's about to happen, we can look at nature, we can be in touch with nature, and we can become at peace within ourselves, and ultimately understand how to give more of the world, give ourselves to the world, so that we can create peace. And that those are my success equations, the factors for what creates success out into the world within ourselves. The final piece here is fulfillment. So we can't have success, in my opinion, until we have an understanding of fulfillment and what fulfillment means for us. So early on in this discussion, if you popped in late, I asked you to write down what success means to you. So hopefully, if you didn't write that down, you have an idea of maybe now what success means to you. But I'm really interested, as well as your definition of success for yourself, to understand that for you, so that you can be a change maker and a peacemaker in the world. I'm interested now in addressing what fulfillment means for you. So I'd like you to now write down underneath your statement of what success means to you, I'd like you to write down what fulfillment means to you. What does fulfillment mean? What is fulfillment? Now, this list includes only one topic, and the one topic for fulfillment, regardless of what you wrote down or what you're thinking up, it's that my actions made a difference. And so I've been teaching for the past 7 years, every day. I've been shooting thousands of videos, blasting to millions of people around the world, teaching people mindfulness in business, meaningful business brand and marketing. I've been leading entrepreneurs. I've personally mentored and coached thousands and had the impact of working with millions of people through my videos and my content. And one of the things that I've recognized, and I wasn't clear on this before working so deeply with people in that kind of high level business, working with people to help them express themselves, to make money in a meaningful way. To me, that creates peace because we're conscious of what we're promoting, we're conscious of what we're doing, and we're making money in accordance with a higher level of intention. We're connecting to a meaning, something that's connected to compassionate living, something that allows us to become value givers, something that within us has us help people and serve people beyond ourselves alone. And if we can make money that way, if we can monetize our movements, if we can profit with purpose, we are able and capable of creating peace, not just within ourselves, but out in the world, because that's what we're expressing, that's what we're promoting, right? And that's why we're so attracted to these leaders and speakers and authors who seem to exemplify these qualities. So what I'm sharing with you are qualities that you can express and have within yourself and master within yourself. These are qualities that you can possess so that you can become at peace within yourself and have a happiness within yourself that's unbounded, that does not rely on anyone else, that doesn't rely on the world having to be a certain way for you or anyone in your life having to show up a certain way for you in any shape or form. But you decide and you cultivate that nourishment within yourself. That is what the Buddha taught. That is what meditation truly is. That is how we create happiness and peace within ourselves. And if we're walking that path and we're leaving that trail behind us, guess what's going to happen? We're going to create world peace because that's what we're doing. That's what Gandhi said. Be the change you wish to see. That's what it means. Meditation is about action, and fulfillment is about knowing that my actions made a difference. So hopefully you now can start to contemplate and meditate, and maybe tomorrow that's something you can do, is to assess within yourself how your actions can make a difference. You can start asking better questions that allow you to be in the moment, to take advantage of this moment. And that's what meditation allows us to do, to breathe and anchor us into our bodies and into presence. And if we are anchored into presence, we're able to be capable of utilizing our mental capacities, our talents, our skills, our intentions, our desires, and our calling. We're capable of bringing all of that together synergistically, packaging that up, owning that, and being an example of that. Those of you who follow Gary Vaynerchuk, one of the things that I love that he says, Gary V, he says to demonstrate, don't talk about it. He said, one of the examples that he gives is LeBron James and Michael Jordan. People don't look at these professional superstars and think, you know, like, wow, I want to be like them, and just demonstrate their success. Like the end result is like this famous celebrity life. It's like, that's not going to get you that lifestyle. It's not going to bring you that success. What brings you that success is watching how they cultivated that path along the way, the success that amounted and the fulfillment that hopefully they've been able to achieve within themselves, and that we're able to receive that fulfillment by watching people that we enjoy, whoever that is, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, Jay Shetty, people who you look up to that inspire you. We don't want to look at how they got to where they're at. We don't want to look at how they're living their life now. We want to look to how they became successful. And we look to every action step, every step along the way on their path. They're challenging, chaotic, often a struggle, painful path, which most people out in the world are struggling because they're unwilling to look at what it really took to get there. So the phrase "fake it till you make it" isn't one that I go by, because it just means that you're trying to model the outcome rather than practice and master the skills that allowed people to actually accomplish their dreams. And most people, like Russell Brand, will share with you that when he reached the highest peak of his career and fulfillment, it wasn't fulfilling to him. He thought it would be. He thought all of the success and money and fame would be, but it was the opposite of fulfillment, which is why he's so dedicated to working with people and serving people in the way that he is with yoga and with meditation and with being able to help people in need. And as Gary Vee was saying, to be able to demonstrate that value, that's something that I've been doing. So if you have a passion, if you have a skill, if you have a dream, if you have a desire, if you have something that you've been wanting to express, a creative insight that you've been bottling up or mastering, and maybe you haven't had the monetary success, the financial success, and you've been having to do something else in order to pay the bills or satisfy the success requirements that you have in your life, I'm asking you to take a step back and observe and really look at bringing and marrying success with fulfillment in a new way, looking at peace and meditation in an aspect that brings you to the present moment in action, where you're able to cultivate that success and fulfillment within yourself so deeply, where you're able to bring your mind to a place of being home within yourself so effortlessly that when you speak to people or when you walk out the door, you have this aura, this glow, this energy about you where people just look at you and say, wow, what are you doing? How can I get that? And that's something that I've been able to experience for the past 16 years. I am a sensitive empath, and like many of you, I'm sure you feel energy. So you've got to find that grounding in your meditation practice. You've got to find that force field and really hone in on the grounding around you to really protect your energy while being open. It's a paradox, being open and protected, being safe and grounded, yet free and unbound. It's a paradox, this life. And you've got to be okay with that, because if you're not, you're going to be floundering, and it's not going to be a very peaceful way, and you're not going to be able to create any peace out in your life, let alone out in the world. So external peace begins with the internalization of knowing how to become grounded within yourself, capable of expressing your creative abilities in a way that allows you to do what you're here to do, to make money in a meaningful way, because it is possible. It is possible. You've just got to understand that you've got to take action. It's not going to be easy because you're swimming up the stream, but your creative expression is worth it. The energy of having peace and happiness within you and emulating that and expressing that out in the world, it's worth it. But you've got to make the decision, and you've got to commit to it, and you've got to keep at it. So hopefully we'll see you at the Unify meditation practices. I'm Robin Lynn with Zenibe, ZENIBE.com. You can learn more about my meditation practices and the principles that I teach in wealth and well-being for a sustainable well-being so that you can make money in a meaningful way. I'm Robin Lynn. Share with me your comments, ask me questions. Hopefully Unify will see you as an influencer and leader, if not this year, then in the years to come. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Robin. That is awesome. Really, these I think that entrepreneurs play such a key role in this time in history and have such a kind of unique ability to influence society, culture, and it's so important that those who are really dedicated to using that superpower of entrepreneurship for good are in a good place and are taking care of themselves so that they can externalize that into their creations. So thank you so much for joining us. And we are rounding out tonight's broadcast. I think that was a perfect way to round things out. We've got a huge day tomorrow as we move into the global synchronized